The hour of 6 p.m. has arrived. I call to order this regular meeting of the Finance Organization and Personnel Committee. Meeting is being broadcast live on the City of Keene YouTube channel and channel 1302. The video is also streamed on the city's website and is posted on the website by the end of the next business day, barring any technical difficulties. Copies of the printed agenda are available in the wall pockets just as you enter the meeting room. The public and other city councilors will be recognized to ask questions, make comments on the agenda item under discussion. After being recognized, all remarks are to be made through the chair. I will not recognize an individual a second time until everyone who wishes has had a chance to speak. Anyone who wishes to address the committee is asked to go to one of the microphones in the room and identify themselves by name and address prior to speaking. Written comments from the public will be accepted at the city clerk's office until Tuesday at 1 p.m. Our minute taker participates remotely. Please remember to turn on your microphone and speak loudly. If we fail to turn it on, we will hear a voice from above. And we were going to have a member by remote, but he has not shown his face yet, so we do have a quorum. With that, item number 1. Chief?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm Jason Martin, the Fire Chief. This item that I'm bringing to you tonight is in reference to the 2025 Homeland Security Grant Program. The City of Keene Fire Department has been awarded $33,000 as part of this grant program. The funding will be utilized to pursue training to allow our members to further improve our ability to meet the state of New Hampshire Homeland Security goals. All funds and equipment awarded by this grant are 100% funded by the program with no local match. I'd be happy to answer any questions if there are any.
Questions here? Nobody from the public, so. Motion, please.
Move to recommend that the city manager be authorized to do all things necessary to accept and expend the 2025 Homeland Security Grant Program Hazmat Training Award.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion by the committee? Seeing none, all in favor? No one's opposed, that's unanimous.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jason. Mr. Costa?
Good evening. Aaron Costa, Assistant Public Works Director, Wastewater Treatment Plant Manager, and I'm here tonight to discuss the wastewater plant HVAC replacement project. And there are a number of HVAC units at the wastewater plant, and the one we're discussing tonight, the existing unit is a unit that provides airflow for heating, cooling, and ventilation to the administrative spaces at the wastewater plant, but it's a cooling unit itself. And it's been in service for a long time, and it's at the end of its useful life and is in need of replacement. Also, there is some ductwork in the grit chamber that is in need of repair as well. The city advertised a design build request for proposals and received one proposal from Precision Temperature Control. And I, along with Neil Goodell, the Utilities Maintenance Technician 2 and one of the city's master electricians, and Christian Tarr, the Utilities Maintenance Manager, reviewed the proposal and found it met the requirements as outlined in the RFP. Precision Temperature Control is a full-service mechanical contractor with 40 years of operation in the Monadnock region and has performed work at the wastewater plant before. In fact, they were there earlier this week. And so they are qualified to do the work. So therefore, staff is recommending that the city contract with Precision Temperature Control to perform design and construction services for an amount not to exceed $396,700. And funds are available in the wastewater plant HVAC replacement project and the wastewater plant grit chamber ductwork insulation repair project.
Thank you. Questions, comments? Your turn.
Move to recommend that the city manager be authorized to do all things necessary to negotiate and execute a professional services contract with Precision Temperature Control LLC to perform design and construction services for the WWTP HVAC replacement and grit chamber ductwork installation repair project for an amount not to exceed $396,700.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion by the committee? Seeing none, all in favor? No one's opposed?
Thank you very much.
Yes, ma'am.
Before he runs away, we didn't get a chance to see him today, but Aaron Costa is celebrating 25 years with the city of Keene. So congratulations, Aaron.
Oh, thank you very much. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, if I may interject, I just want to clarify why we weren't able to see Mr. Costa at the luncheon today. Although he's a member of the committee that puts together the luncheon, Aaron actually had to go to Concord today to get some, like a recertification for his, the water license, right? So he put the needs of the city above what would have been a fine lunch, so that he could maintain his qualifications, so.
Outstanding. Nice job. All right. Next item. City engineer.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. For the record, Brian Ruff, city engineer. The city received a grant from, or applied for and received a grant from Northern Borders for the construction of the Gilbo Ave Solar Pavilion project. As part of that, the city advertised a request for qualifications in accordance with federal funding and the Northern Borders Regional Commission for the design of that structure, that system. In response to that request for proposals, or request for qualifications, excuse me, the first time the city publicly advertised, we didn't receive any qualifications. So we immediately reposted the position, reached out to a couple of firms that we knew would be interested and would submit, and received qualifications from 2 firms. Those 2 firms were both interviewed, brought in accordance with the Northern Borders selection criteria. The review committee consisted of myself, the director, infrastructure project manager O'Brien, and the parkings operation manager Chelsea North. We reviewed and evaluated both the quality of the qualifications and their interview, and identified Stantec as the preferred engineer consultant for the project. Subsequently, we asked Stantec for a scope for the design for the project, which we went back and forth a little bit on, and mutually agreed upon a scope and associated fee that was less than what was stated in the grant amount for the project. So all good things. We have reached out to Southwest Regional Planning and Northern Borders, indicating that we are ready to award the contract, and provided them with a grant scope, and they indicated that they had no issues or concerns with that. So at this time, we are looking to execute a contract with Stantec to perform the design for this project and move forward with that. Be happy to answer any questions.
Okay. Questions here? Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thanks, engineer. Hoping you can just refresh my memory on the total estimated cost on this project. The $340,000 is a pretty good chunk of change.
It is, yeah.
And I thought I recalled the total project cost being around $2 million or something a little over that, which would put this around like 14% of the total cost.
2.4, yes.
2.4.
Yep.
And is that a pretty standard percent that we'd expect for the design process here?
It's what I would consider an upper level for engineering, but with that said, with the federal funding requirements, there's a lot of permitting, there's a lot of social outreach, there's a lot of engagement of the community, making sure we meet the number of required meetings. So there's a lot of extra permitting and federal requirements that come with that sort of design. So it's a price that I would expect. It's in line with what the independent government estimate was. And we even eliminated some bidding-related engineering scopes that we knew we could do in-house to make sure we had a competitive price for the work.
It's good.
Yep.
Anybody else? Motion, please.
Move to recommend that the city manager be authorized to do all things necessary to execute an agreement with Stantec for engineering services for the design of the Gebo Avenue Solar Pavilion project for an amount not to exceed $340,000.
Second.
Okay, so moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Seeing none. All in favor? No one's opposed. Unanimous.
Thank you. For your next agenda item, the city applied for and was preliminary awarded a grant for what we're calling the Jordan Road Salamander Crossing Project. These are federal funds through the administered through the State of New Hampshire Fish and Game Commission. We have a commitment from Fish and Game to go forward with this project. The city will be teaming with the Harris Center for this. This project was brought about by Duncan Watson. He's very disappointed that he's not going to be involved in this, but we'll figure a way to have him involved in some way or another. Essentially, one of the conditions of accepting this grant is we need city council approval to be able to accept that, so that's what we're asking for today. The project's estimated at about $375,000. With that is a 10% city commitment. What we're going to do to meet that commitment is use and track city staff costs, so our hourly cost, essentially, for our engineering staff to design the project. The permitting is being done by the state and coordinated through them. And then there's, I don't want to get ahead of myself, the next item, we'll be working with the Harris Center, and they will also be volunteering as part of this project in order to meet that financial match. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Questions, discussion? In that case, motion?
Move to recommend that the city manager be authorized to do all things necessary to execute, accept, and expend a grant agreement with the New Hampshire Fish and Game Department for the engineering, permitting, and construction of the Jordan Road Salamander Crossing Project.
Second.
Okay, been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Yes, ma'am.
I have one question. Have they ever considered a tunnel?
This is going to be a tunnel.
But I mean, sorry.
Sure.
You're right. But I was thinking, like, we're only putting it in one place, and there's all kinds of crossings.
We're working with the Harris Center to identify the best location for this. Essentially, about 50 to 70 feet north of Peg Shop Road on Jordan Road, there are vernal pools, wetlands areas that are the most conducive crossing areas. And what the Harris Center has done as part of their initial research in support of this project has tracked all the crossings of the endangered species in that area. So we know exactly within a relative degree of accuracy where that crossing is. So the idea would be we would put that crossing tunnel under the road, but then build out walls to make sure that those creatures cross in that location. It's about 150 to 180 foot window in which they're crossing the road on Jordan Road. And we're looking to capture as many as possible based on their data.
But, I mean, they also cross, like, on, was it North Lincoln? I
Yes.
think, and a couple other places. So that's why I was curious.
And that potentially could be a future project as well, but for now, this is the one we're working on, yeah.
Mr. Chair, if I may, the grant application that was presented was developed in conjunction with the Fish and Game Service was really, it was competitive because of the Jefferson salamander. It's the particular rare species of salamander that crosses in the area that Brian's talking about. The presence of that rare endangered species is really what made our application competitive for these funds. So that's why we're focused on that area, and of course, the funds are competitive and limited, so we're using it in this location.
Anything else? Did we make a motion? Yes, we did. Yeah. Okay. All in favor? No one opposed? Thank you.
Your next agenda item is the same project. Essentially, we'll be teaming with the Harris Center for this project. They'll be doing the preliminary tracking, and they will be doing the post installation tracking, which is a requirement of the funding that we are receiving. Because that volunteer work has a monetary value that will be utilized for the city's match for this, we are asking that City Council accept that as a donation for this project to be counted towards the city match. Harris Center and New Hampshire Fish and Game have already agreed and are on board, and we just need your approval to track it thenceforth.
Questions? In that case, motion, please.
Move to recommend that the city manager be authorized to do all things necessary to accept in-kind donations from the Harris Center for Conservation Education.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion by the committee? Seeing none, all in favor? No one's opposed. It's unanimous.
Thank you.
Thank you. You made it.
I did, thanks to roundabouts. Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. Andy Bohannon, Deputy City Manager. Your first item tonight is a donation of $35,000 to the city for the purposes of creating a conceptual design for the Ashwillet River Park green space. This is the new park space that is along Ashwillet Street. It was subdivided with the Monadnock Conservancy, and so this allows us to be able to go in and create a design. This project has kind of been in the works, not kind of, it has been in the works since 2014, when members of JCC Properties and Conway School Landscape Design and Monadnock Conservancy all kind of like partnered with the city to look at what this could be. So in last spring, we had come forward requesting the submission of a LWCF grant, and that was to be reviewed over the summer and applied during this upcoming month, which you'll see in a minute. We did not have everything ready for that grant. So we had a design that was previous to the full acres of that lot, and we needed a more defined scope. And going into the application, I knew that we would not be successful with that if we had trying to throw things together and not. And the state kind of recognized that as well, and they said, you know, why don't you come back? So this allows us, timing-wise, to, one, put it in the capital improvement plan, which you'll see, which goes through a public process. That's part of the initial need for LWCF. The other piece is that we have some type of public engagement and a conceptual design. And with the Ashwillet River Park Advisory Board, we'd be able to facilitate quite a bit of that in the public engagement piece. So this is a generous gift from this donor and would enable us to begin to move forward and create this design and scope a budget and everything, so to come back later in the year with the LWCF project.
Thank you. Questions, comments? Seeing none. Motion, please.
Move to recommend that the city manager be authorized to do all things necessary to accept the donation of $35,000 from an anonymous donor, and that the money is allocated for a conceptual design for the Ashwillet River Park green space.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? No one's opposed, unanimous.
The next item before you is for land, water, and conservation funds. These are 50/50 matching grants for state and local governments. And what we are looking to do is have an increased amendment to the initial grant that we received for the skate park. We received a grant for $225,000. When we did that, we added, we had the match for the building of the skate park, and then when we demoed the building, that cost increased. We received an additional $117,000 to help offset that demolition. That eliminated the ability for us to put a parking lot in at that location. And through this amendment, we would go forward with putting a small parking lot in and connecting the other additional parking lot that's already established within Russell Park, making this project fully complete. I put in here $75,000. That's what we're kind of looking at. It may be a little bit less than that when we put the budget together. Because this is an amendment and not an actual grant application, it's still going to go through the grant application process and be competitive with the other current bids that are out there right now. So this isn't a guarantee, but it's one step for us to move forward with.
Next, any questions? Motion, please.
Can you turn on your microphone, please?
Move to recommend that the city manager be authorized to execute the submission of the application for Land and Water Conservation Fund Grant Round 36 for the Patricia Russell Park Phase 2 project amendment.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion, members of the committee? Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I was trying to figure out how to word this. So I'm a little curious about the process here. So, right, if I'm understanding correctly, it's a slight change to the actual project plan. So if we weren't to then get the amendment through, I'm trying to think of what happens if this doesn't pass? Is there some other piece that has to pass after we authorize, if the council authorizes it to, or is this just an amendment to the grant that's already out there? I'm just trying to think if is there another step past us authorizing this, that this has to then go through before that new project plan goes into place?
No, so we will go through also the CIP, because we'll need to add some additional funding as the match for this in the CIP because it's not there. So this process, even though I'm submitting in January, it's not going to be reviewed, and we'll have gone through the CIP process at that point in time before everything kind of plays out. So this is just helping this project move forward. If we don't get this through in this round, we can simply apply again next year.
Okay. In that case, all in favor? Unanimous.
Thank you.
Thank you. The airport director.
Rebecca Landry, Deputy City Manager. I provided tonight a memo in your agenda packet that goes into some detail about the status of the taxiway reconstruction project. A key piece of that taxiway project has been the paving of the taxiway. This is the primary taxiway on runway 220. So it's taxiway A. It's very heavily used. During the closure of this taxiway during the reconstruction season, we have had it closed, and the users of the airport have been back taxiing or not using that runway. So we had a contract with our construction company, Casella, to start the project on September in mid-September and finish in mid-November, by Thanksgiving. And we ran into a predicament when the first course of paving on that taxiway, the first 2 inches, was completed in that first week of November. But with a very early winter, which I don't even think it's winter yet, but it sure does feel like it, we had, after the first course of pavement went down, and we need 2, we had rain and cold, and enough that the asphalt plant that is subcontracted by the construction company, they closed. And we did not have our second course of pavement, that top wearing course. And so we hurried to have a conversation. We expected that plant to be open until Thanksgiving. It costs the asphalt plant an awful lot of money to stay open on a day-to-day basis. They have to keep staff around the clock. They have to keep their product in just the right condition, and that requires heat, and it requires products that they add to the asphalt, and a lot of equipment and a lot of energy. We approached the DOT and the FAA to see if we could get any additional funds, and the answer was no. We also knew that there was no chance of another extension for this grant. This grant was originally awarded, and I think it was 2020, maybe 21. So there are no extensions remaining for this grant. This is a $3.3 million grant that comes in 3 sections, and the first section, or the grant number 1, is the $1.6 million that includes the paving part of the taxiway reconstruction, and that expires in February. So I have a half-paved taxiway that we could not delay until the spring unless we wanted to find $300,000 or $400,000 come April. We were in quite a predicament. We worked very closely with the construction contractor, with the asphalt plant, with the DOT, with the FAA, and we signed a change order which required some additional expenses. That was a daily expense to keep the asphalt plant open, as well as leasing some road dryers and the fuel necessary to run those road dryers, and some lighting necessary to keep those road dryers running from 4 a.m. on whatever the Monday before Thanksgiving was. And so I was very concerned the night before when some of that white stuff started flying around that Sunday before the paving, but the crew did an amazing job. They were able to do what they needed to do to get the surface temp up to 45 degrees. They completed the top course of paving, and during the day of paving, everything passed all of the testing that was done during the process, and then on the following day when they do the core samples and tests, all of those passed all of the FCC minimum spec testing. And so this was a very good outcome to a very, very stressful week or 2 at the airport. We did incur some costs because of the unexpected expenses that we faced. They're going to be, they could be as much or as little as $50,000 depending on how much fuel it took to run those dryers. We don't expect any significant labor costs because the labor to do the paving was already included in the contract, and other lighting and materials and equipment was already included. So depending on the itemized costs, we're expecting it to be $50,000, possibly $60,000 or $70,000. So that's why I'm here tonight. We did identify 2 capital improvement projects that can be closed out, and the balance is used to help fund this additional expense. We are asking that those projects be closed out and the funding that remains there to be moved to the taxiway CIP. I will note that when I ran a project report with the help of Carrie Chamberlain, our finance director, I saw the balance in the airport fuel tank project of $36,000, but it appears that Dave Hickling, the former airport director, did come to this committee and to the council in August and already get approval to close out that project and move those funds to the taxiway project. So your motion before you tonight will only include the hazard beacon replacement project funding.
Okay. Questions? Yeah.
By spending the $50,000, how much money did we save or how much did we prevent ourselves from losing?
That top course of paving would probably cost between $350,000 and $400,000 in the spring that we did not have any grant funding for.
Pretty good return on investment.
We were facing a predicament where we had to choose risk number one or risk number two. And risk number one was far more affordable than risk number two, in addition to the fact that I did not want to put our airport customers out of use of that taxiway for an entire winter. That would have been very difficult.
Thank you.
Well, you were successful because you're all able to gather the troops and come up with a good solution, and sounds like we had a good contractor.
That's a good point. I wanted to mention that Casella is our construction contractor, and they have been very good to work with. And so has McFarland Johnson, who is our engineering firm. So major thanks to those, and as well as the airport staff, because they have to juggle an awful lot. They take care of the operations on a day-to-day basis, and it's I don't know how they do it, let's just put it that way. So with this complication added to it, they're the unsung heroes in all of this.
Great job. Just now curiosity, was it the local paving plant that we had to wait for?
Warner Brothers in Winchester. And we looked into alternative asphalt plants. When it became clear that they had already passed, their product had already passed the FAA test, and that doesn't happen overnight. That takes at least 30 days. We even looked into whether there were other airports in the area, in the tri-state area, that had passed the same spec that we might be able to use instead of keeping the local asphalt plant open, but that wasn't an option. I mean, we looked down every possible rabbit hole here.
Nice job, nice job.
Thanks.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you for all the backstory too on the whole situation. Slightly tangential question to this. It's pretty late in the season, obviously. That's why we're running into these problems. Is there a certain level of painting that's required on the lanes, and did we get that done, or does that have to wait till the spring?
Coincidentally, it's a safety issue, and we did talk to our contact at DOT about what the best approach would be. We are going to paint, I think, on the 17th. What's today's date? We're close to the 17th, yeah. So the 17th, that's the 16th, 17th, a couple of dry days in the forecast. There is paint that we can put in that will last until the spring, but it will be repainted in the spring. It's really important for that visibility for the pilots.
Anything else? Yes, ma'am.
I just have to weigh in on this. First of all, thank you to Rebecca for covering the airport once again during transition. She's had to do this a few times, and when Dave Hickling retired and we are still in the process of recruiting his replacement, Rebecca stepped up and has done a fabulous job. But this really was above and beyond. This involved a lot of thinking outside of the box, problem solving. Lots of meetings with DOT, FAA, the contractors, and she really made it happen, and she deserves a ton of credit for it. We would have lost that $350,000 in grants.
It's me. Move to recommend that the City Council authorize the transfer of the remaining project balances from Project 05J0008A Airport Hazard Beacon Replacement to Project 05J0004B AIP Taxiway A Reconstruction to fund unanticipated taxiway paving expenses.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor? No one's opposed. Unanimous. Thank you. Thank you all. We're adjourned.